Welcome to Quantum Revenue Expansion, where we keep you motivated, inspired, and thinking big. Up-leveling into quantum revenue is a choice that we can all make in any moment, and then continue to make that choice to stay in that space each day. On this podcast, Ursula will share revenue growth strategies to reach your next level and introduce you to CEOs just like you who are making it happen. What's your next quantum leap going to be? See it, own it, and take that first step. If this is you, then Ursula wants to invite you to join us at the next 2X Intensive now. Go to salescoachnow.com/apply. You are listening to Quantum Revenue Expansion with your host, Ursula Menchez. Let's go.
Hey everybody, it's Ursula and welcome to Quantum Revenue Expansion, the podcast. Super excited to have you with me today. And I'm really excited. I'm doing a two-part series called 10 Strategies to Exceed Your Quantum Revenue Goal in 2022. This is obviously part one. And this is inspired by so many things, inspired by so many breakthroughs that our clients had in 2021, inspired by conversations I've had this month, and I've just felt this calling to do the show. So it's going to be two parts. And part of it is because I want to give you time to absorb what we're going to talk about today and really to even implement some of it. And then when you come back, we'll dig even deeper into what's it going to take for you to really reach or exceed your quantum revenue goal this year. Because I know that's what you want. That's why you hang out here. And I love this conversation so much. So definitely get your pen out, grab your paper, have your favorite drink or drinks. I'm drinking some coffee, some water, got all my things here. So a little bit of housekeeping first. If you haven't yet, go to our website, go to ursulainc.co, not .com.co, ursulainc.co. And on the homepage, we have Quantum Revenue Expansion, the masterclass. It's free. And it's, $1,000 or more worth of content that we're giving away. Inside of that course, it's a 3-part class. The first part, you learn how to create a brand new revenue container to turn your annual income into your monthly income. And the second part of the course, we talk about how to up-level your pricing, your packages, and your marketing. This is really important because when we work with clients, we'll help them set, a 6, 7, 8-figure goal. And then often that brings up like what needs to be changed in the business. Maybe it's pricing, maybe it's packages, maybe it's all of it. And then that leads to, well, we got to change our marketing now as well because we're talking to a different client. So if that's something that you need some help with, this course will help. And finally, just the third part of the class is how to collapse time and reach your quantum revenue goal even faster. One of my favorite things is to talk about the quantum realm, talk about quantum physics and how do you really collapse time? How can you get to that next level super fast? So if you haven't yet, definitely go there, grab it. Like I said, it's free. And I think you'll really come away with some great next steps in your business. Once you've done that, or maybe even before, if you haven't hung out with us at the 2X Intensive course, I want to invite you to do that because just like so much happens in 2 days for our clients. And if you're excited and you're just ready to, take it to that next level in your business and it, go to ursulainc.co/apply. Just send us a little bit of information about your company so we can make sure it's a fit. And then my team will send you details about the next 2X Intensive that's coming up. We're not offering them every month. So you've got to make sure you work with our calendar to get into one that has availability. I know by March, we'll have a wait list for that course. So if you're thinking about it, definitely let us know. And you can go to ursulainc.co/apply, send us the details. We'll get you the info. And what's cool is because you're a listener of the show and you'll get a special package from us with some really cool gifts. So anyway, reach out. Finally, if you love the show and you want to leave a review for us, we really appreciate that. Once you've left the review, go to ursulainc.co/giveaway. We have a gift for you to say thank you for taking the time to do that because I know your time is one of your most valuable resources and we want to thank you for that. Okay, all the housekeeping is done. So grab that pen and your journal because this could be some of the most important work you do this year. Getting this level of clarity in your business with the 10 strategies I'm going to share today could be the thing that takes you into the stratosphere in your business. And we've seen it. We've seen clients, go from 10,000 a month. I'm thinking of one particular client who's gone from about 10,000 a month to now she's going to have her first $50,000 month, from 10,000, 50,000. And she was saying it's been less than 6 months. That's extraordinary. I mean, that's a game changer for her. And she's looking at now what's next, $80,000 months. I see that for her. And one of my coaches said to me, she said, you really geek out on getting your clients to the next level, like your clients having breakthroughs. And I do. I mean, I don't know if there's a greater high for me than when we see a client just start to make the kind of revenue that they've always wanted to make, because it doesn't just change their life, right? It changes the lives of people in their family. It changes the opportunities for their clients often. It has a domino effect out into the nonprofits that they're part of because they have more money, right? There's just so many incredible things. And then it changes legacies, right? Because if you have children and they see you working successfully in a business and bringing more money in, right, that you can make different choices with, it changes how they see what's possible for them. And so I just want to give a shout out to all of you, whether it's your children or your nieces and nephews or whoever's watching you, someone's watching you. So shout out to all of you for sticking with it. I know that having gone through the past 2 years has been extraordinarily challenging for business owners. And that's probably a massive understatement. I know it's been hard to get up every day and keep running your business. And I know for a lot of us, we've had to develop these little bubbles that we live in to stay positive for our clients and to keep everything going. So just hats off to you for being willing to just stay in it and keep going, because I promise you it's going to pay off. Today, I'm going to talk about the first 5 strategies. So this show, part 1, part 2, is going to cover 10 strategies to exceed your quantum revenue goal in 2022. So not just meet it, but really exceed it. Okay. And these are tried and true strategies that I use, that our clients use. These are strategies that we coach around. A lot of times this is what I'm looking for when I'm talking with our clients. Like, what have we missed? Like where are they stuck? What are they missing? What part is it? And so, I'll share some stories along the way too, on how these things have shown up for me, or how these strategies have helped me, or they've helped other clients. And my hope and my prayer is that if you've been feeling stuck, or maybe you're stuck at a certain income ceiling, maybe you even feel like you're going a little bit backwards as the year started. Maybe you're just, things aren't feeling right for you. I feel you, and I hope this gets you unstuck. For others of you, if you're like, yeah, I had a pretty good 2021, but I'm ready to kick it up in 2022, this is definitely for you. And for those of you who rocked 2021, you're like, what's next? This is an opportunity for you to think about these strategies from the perspective of your next level, your next revenue level, whatever that is, right? So, if you've been at 50,000, it's time for 80,000. How can these strategies help you get there in lightning speed? Okay. All right. Yes, I'm excited. Okay. Here we go. Again, first 5 strategies we'll go through today. Strategy number 1. I want to keep this really I know this is going to I'm 10 strategies. It sounds so elementary. I'm just going to go through a list. At the same time, one of the things I feel like we do as business owners is overcomplicate everything, right? We make it more complicated than it needs to be. And it just doesn't need to be complicated. And so let's find some beauty in this simplicity. And if you hear background noise, my son's around the office somewhere. So he is doing school from here today. So we'll see what happens. I know all the parents out there are like, yeah, been there, did that. Sometimes it sounds like a dinosaur is like coming through. All right, so here we go. Strategy number 1 is to get crystal clear. Get crystal clear on what you want. Now, recently on one of the solo shows, I talked about, following your heart's desire, and really that's even more important than whatever goals you've written down, right? Like really getting to your heart's desire. Getting crystal clear also means being granular, like really breaking down the goal and breaking it down even more to look at what's there. From a quantum revenue standpoint, okay, this means breaking your goal down to the ridiculous. So you know exactly how many new clients or customers you need to reach that goal. And again, this sounds simple, but I find a lot of people miss that point. It's one of the reasons at the 2X Intensive, we start with what we call a model month template. If you could design your perfect month, right? What would that month look like? And what would you be selling? To whom would you be selling it to? How many of those do you have to sell to get there? What that forces you to do is to look at the pieces, of your business, to look at pricing, to look at packaging, to look at your ideal client. We just had another client. So one of the things you do before you come to the 2X Intensive is you fill out the model month template. And so a client recently just filled that out and emailed me this long email just talking about how much clarity that one exercise brought her. And she was just blown away by the detail of it and what she learned, because what it showed her is what needs to change in her business right now. And on the one hand, it was painful. She's like, that was so painful to look at that. On the other hand, she's like, well, this is what would allow us to double our business again this year. And for her, it would be significant multi six figures as she's working toward her $1 million business. So getting crystal clear is the first strategy. And this is for any goal in life, right? Whether it's a business goal, whether it's a personal goal, if you don't know what you want, it can't show up for you. There's no way. It's like if you want to go to California, which being in Minnesota in the middle of winter sounds lovely, but I put in Colorado, right? If I put in because I'm like, well, I think I want to get to California. I think Colorado's kind of on the way. Let's just see what happens. Well, you're going to get to Colorado. It's just like if you say, I think I want to hit $1 million this year in revenue, but I'll sell for 300,000. That's where 300,000 is Colorado. That's where you're going to end up. So this piece of crystal clarity is key. Statistically, you are 99% more likely to achieve your goals by writing them down. I will say that over and over and over again, because also statistically, only about 10% of the population writes their goals down. Now, we might do it once in a while. We might do it at the beginning of the year, and then we forget, and we're like, why am I stuck at this income level? Well, because you haven't written it down again, or you haven't written the next level of it down. So get crystal clear on what you want, and then write it down. So I've kind of touched both of these. Strategy number 1, get crystal clear. Strategy number 2, actually write it down. And again, break it down to the ridiculous, because when you start to see your, for example, model month broken down to the ridiculous, most people will say, there's an easier way to get there than I thought. Oh, I could do this to get there. So like the path to get there starts to unfold before you. Okay. So really, really key. Then, so now we've gotten crystal clear, decided what we want. We've written it down clearly, and we've broken it down to the ridiculous. The third strategy, I like to call this check yourself. This is where you get to ask yourself what you believe about what you've written down. Because it's one thing to be, like, let's say you're in high energy and you're excited about the year and you're writing your goals down. You're actually giving yourself permission to write down what you want. You're not disqualifying yourself. You're not editing yourself, right? All the things that you might do. Then let's say maybe you were at a retreat doing this, or you're at a coffee shop where the energy was high. Then you go home, or you go to your home office, or you go to your office, and a doubt creeps in. It could come from anything. Like, just, you see the news right now, right? And you're like, you feel the anxiety and fear like that, the news loves to program us with, and it hits you and you're like, oh my gosh, like, this is totally going to affect my year. What I want is impossible. How often does that happen? Or you talk to someone. It could even be a friend or a family member. And like, they're like, hey, you're in a great mood. And you say, yeah, I just wrote my goals down. I'm super excited about this year. Oh, really? What'd you write down? And you make the mistake of telling them, and they look at you, and it brings up all their issues. And so they spew on you, and they say, well, you think you can double your sales in this economy? You think you can double your sales in a pandemic, right? Like, whatever they say, they spew something on you, and it takes you down this rabbit hole, and you let go. You're like, well, yeah, they're probably right. I probably can't do that. Ursula probably doesn't know what she's talking about, right? Like, it's not possible for me. So you start to make up the stories, and you start to go back to your limiting beliefs. And so this is why I say, check yourself. Strategy number 3 is to check yourself constantly. When those limiting beliefs come in, or when someone wants to gift you with one, those are my favorite. Check yourself. You get to say, heck no, I'm not taking that on. Like, you have to develop an armor around you that says, no, I am not taking that belief on. I do not believe that limiting belief. Is that redundant? That is not true for me. Or my old favorite, I think this came from Jack Canfield, is cancel. A lot of people say that. I love saying that. It annoys a lot of people around me when I do it, because I do it regularly. But I think they also probably appreciate it. If someone says something that's super negative, I'll just say, cancel, not taking that on. Or sometimes if I'm around people who I don't know well, in my head, I'm just like, cancel that, cancel that, walk away. Okay. That much armor. You probably need it more than ever. We're in an interesting time in the world where just a lot of negative energy floating around. It's not sticking to you. Don't let it. Do not take on the fear and anxiety that is in the world today. It is not yours. It's not yours. And frankly, I wish many would stop spewing it. And, I dream of a world where news has positive things to say as well. Like, what would that be like? There used to be this website called Happy News. I'm going to have to Google it. Now a bunch of people will Google it and tell me, but there's a website called Happy News, and you can go there for happy news, clearly, right? And so I thought that was brilliant. I had this conversation with someone recently who studies the media and all the negativity. And I was like, why isn't there happy news? I mean, I kind of knew why, but I thought, can you just work some in, right? Couldn't we sprinkle some good news in? And he said, without skipping a beat, he said, happy news doesn't sell. No one clicks on the happy news. Or I think I do. Like, there's probably, you probably do, right? There's probably 25 of us who click on the happy. I'm just kidding. We don't click on the happy news. And there's not a lot of it out there. So you got to find it, or you got to create it yourself. In my head, if you would see what's in my head and the amount of time I spend recalibrating my beliefs and my thoughts, it's a lot. Like, sometimes I feel like that's kind of a full-time job these days. Let's say part-time, because I don't spend my full time doing it, but it's a constant checking. And also, when there's a lot of negativity, it can also bring up old stuff. Like, I've had old stuff circle that come up that I just thought was long gone. And so I find that interesting as well. It's like, wow, well, that's interesting. And then the downside is that people, places, things, situations will happen to confirm your old belief, or that old belief is back. Could be an old belief about scarcity or fear or whatever. And that's when, again, you have to have your armor on and say, no, not taking that in. That is not mine. No, thank you. back to sender. Bye-bye, not mine. Not easy to do. It's a practice. I invite you to check yourself. So that's strategy number 3. So far we've talked about number 1, get crystal clear on what you want. 2, write it down. Make it like to the granular, start to break it down into tiny little pieces. Like, how would I get there? What does that look like? 3, check yourself. Do not let the negativity and the anxiety, don't take it on. I mean, it really is a choice. You don't have to live in that. It's up to you. And if other people choose to live in it, you don't have to change them. You don't have to even invite them to your fun party that's happening in your head. Sometimes we just got to let people be. You get to choose. And by choosing, you get to be the example, right? You get to live in your fun space. You get to live in your happy space. Okay. 4, strategy number 4. Once you've taken yourself through those first 3 strategies, then the 4th strategy is to rewrite your story. I love storytelling. I've actually written a fiction book. Not a lot of people know that. You got to know some things to be able to find it. I love writing stories in my, did I say fiction? Yeah, a fiction book. I've written a fiction book. I've written 5 nonfiction books, and I've written a children's book, which is sitting on a shelf somewhere waiting for a few things to fall into place. But getting through the pandemic was a big part of it. But anyway, in all of that, I love to tell stories. And what I didn't realize is how powerful story work really is. And that we as humans are masterful storytellers. And I want you to start noticing the stories you tell, because I do it too. Like, I'll be in the middle of telling a story and I'll think, why am I telling the story this way, right? Because whenever something happens to us, there's multiple ways to tell a story. Sometimes it's fun to tell the very dramatic, painful, emotional, like we all have that friend who tells the story, like, maybe someone almost ran into them on the freeway, but didn't, right? Like they're safe and sound, everything's fine. We have those friends who tell the story like they almost died, right? It was like 1 centimeter away. And maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but they're safe. At the end of the day, everything's fine. Then we have those other friends who, or maybe this is you, when they tell the story, it's like, yeah, maybe they don't even bring it up. They don't even tell that story because they don't want to live in that drama. Or if they tell it, it's like, yeah, someone almost hit me on the freeway, but it was really cool to see how fast my reflexes were. And I just like zoomed, to the left or whatever, and nothing happened. Everything's good, right? So it's also that perspective. So the whole point is is to think about how you tell stories so that you can rewrite your story. And a good exercise to practice is how you check your stories on a regular basis. So this is even bigger than like check yourself. This is like, how do you tell a story of something that's happening to you in your business? Because if you tell it in a negative way, it just gets worse and it starts to spiral and you start to get more of that. And so if you're in a business situation, here's an example. I'm talking to a client recently who felt like just in a downward spiral. And I said, stop. We got to stop telling that story because their story really wasn't true. And what was miraculous is when she stopped herself and started to tell the new story about what was really going on, which was all about up-leveling her business and making a lot of changes that had, caused some chaos, cleared the deck, like fired clients left, team members left, new team members came. Like there was just all this messiness happening. And then all of a sudden, like, she's telling the story of scarcity. The world is ending. The business is going the wrong way. And I was like, nope, tell a different story. Within a day, like a day and a half of telling a new story, her business shifted. So if you want to rewrite your story, first identify the story you're telling about your business now and why it's not this or why it's not that or why I can't move forward. Write it down, then tear it up and then write a new story. And a fun way to write a new story we call this scripting, is to imagine you're writing in a journal and, put it 12 months out. So imagine it's December 31st, 2022. and you've just had the most incredible year, and you're sitting across from your business partner or your spouse or your friend or whoever, and you're telling them. And I like to have our clients imagine that they're actually sharing this story at on a vacation or at dinner or somewhere really nice. So you get in touch, you close your eyes and get in touch with all your senses. And you imagine you're sharing this story and you're remembering what happened. And it's so powerful when you imagine yourself remembering how you got to your quantum stretch goal, like what your subconscious brain brings up, like all the things that went well. Well, once your subconscious brain grabs onto the story, right? You open up your eyes, you write it down, and you date it like you dated December 31st, 2022. You write it as if you're remembering it, right? You're writing as if it already happened. It's one of the most powerful tools that I've ever used. And if you hung out with me for a while, you probably heard me talk about it before, but I wrote about it in my book, The Belief Zone, and just how to do it, and like to keep doing that and keep coming back to this story, or just go back and reread that story regularly, because it brings you into the energy of it's already done. That's what one of my coaches says. She always says, well, what do you want? And I tell her, and she's like, well, be in the energy of it's already done. If it's already done, then what? So powerful. Now, the fifth strategy, remember, we're going to cover 5 today. The fifth strategy of the 10 is once you've done this work and you've written the new story, it's on paper, then you make a decision that you're not going to stop. You make a decision that you're all in. You make a decision that energetically, this is it. I'm done. It's happening. It's already like in motion. Now, doubt and fear can creep in, and this is where you check yourself on the regular. It's like, nope, not taking that on, not living in that. I don't believe that story. And you keep doing the work of like, no way, I'm not taking it on. And you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. I guarantee you things are going to happen that are going to throw you. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, see, this can't happen for me. You're going to want to go back to your old story, but you can't. You have to stay in the energy and the decision of, this is it. This is what I'm creating next, no matter what. That is what successful people do. They keep going. They persevere even when things look off, or situations or circumstances show up that in the past would have taken you off your path. It could be anything. It could be a client firing you. It could be someone saying no to your products or services. It could be a team member quitting. It could be, believe me, it's someone stealing from you. It could be anything. Doesn't matter what it is. I guarantee you some things will happen, especially when you set a big goal. Like things could get a little wonky. I've had many of those. I call them interesting. I call them wonky. I don't want to be super negative about it, but you know what I'm saying? Like stuff happens and it'll threaten to pull you out of your game. And this is when you have to say, absolutely not. I'm keeping going. Done. All right. We're going to wrap up part 1. Again, 10 strategies to exceed your quantum revenue goal in 2022. We talked about getting crystal clear. We talked about the power of writing it down. We talked about check yourself. We talked about rewriting your story. And we talked about the power of making a decision. Next week, we're going to talk about like what happens when that stuff shows up, when you're like, ooh, didn't expect that, or whatever it is that might in the past have made you stop. You're not going to stop this time. So we'll talk about that. So you have some homework to do, some work to do. I encourage you to do this before you listen to next week's show. All right, everybody, that's it for now. Thanks for hanging out with us. We love you. We appreciate you. If there's anything we can do for you, you can email us at contact@ursulainc.co. Make this your most epic month yet. Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining us today. And if you are ready to make your next quantum leap, let's do it. Ursula invites you to join us at the 2X Intensive. Go to salescoachnow.com/apply. Don't forget to leave us a review on your favorite podcast app.